Hello, everyone. This is Carl from Team 3. Our team includes Adam Schumann, Jordan Newbound, Jia Chua, Hinson Zhu, and Nathaniel Walter. Our product is called the Greater Slicer. Today, we will be taking you through the following agenda. We will first look at the problem, target customers, and relevant stakeholders before going into customer needs, functional requirements, and how our product was inspired by nature. Finally, we will look at visualization of our generative design concepts, the novelty and feasibility of our product, and how we plan to implement this into the real world. Firstly, the problem. Meet Samantha. Samantha is a fitness fanatic and loves healthy food. Having just gotten her first job at ANSO, started paying her own rent, and been training for her first marathon, she is finding it impossible to maintain her healthy eating habits. She doesn't have enough time to slice and dice her own fresh ingredients and is finding herself buying fast food. This is not only hurting her speed on the track and degrading her mental health, but is also taking money out of her pocket week by week. Enter the Greater Slicer.
The Greater Slicer is aimed at people like Samantha who want to cook for themselves but are annoyed by the process of slicing fresh ingredients. Statistics from Australia Bureau shows that among the people cooking by themselves, 61% of them work full-time, which means they don't have enough time to cook. Thus, increasing the efficiency of cooking is the purpose of the Greater Slicer. The targeted customers are for the Greater Slicer device for the young adults who cook for themselves. Of the surveys conducted, over 75 of interviews are aged between 18 to 30. Due to this age group's overrepresentation in research, their voices will be reflected more in the product design. Furthermore, the research found that this age group was far more open to the concept of purchasing a device to automate repetitive tasks. Opinions from the professional chefs in big-scale restaurants are reliable, and older people, such as parents, tend to cook for themselves. But due to the lack of connections with our group, lack of customer voice has made them the secondary target customers. Stakeholders are people and organizations who are affected by a product. Stakeholders play a larger role in determining the compatibility of a product with customer environments and hence must be considered in the design process. The primary stakeholders are housemates, food manufacturer, cookware manufacturer, Food and Drug Administration and other health and safety organizations, cleaners, waste disposal facilities, product distributors, electricity companies, and the restaurants.
Now, to help Samantha out, as a team, we've discussed her needs and how we can apply them to the Greater Slicer. Samantha loves to run, so naturally she would much prefer to remain fit, healthy, and most importantly, unharmed. Safety for our product is key, and it's critical for Samantha to feel risk-free from injury or danger whilst using the Greater Slicer. On top of this, 74.1% of respondents said that they feel as though chopping and slicing is the most repetitive task they do in the kitchen, and 55.6% said their biggest safety concern is accidentally cutting themselves. With this in mind, our design has held the protection of our customers' hands paramount. Furthermore, what good is a device that only has one function? Versatility is key, and keeping in mind that above 70% of our respondents chose that they would rather have one device that can do many tasks than many devices that can do one task. For our product, we allow for it to be utilized with different types of foods and on differently textured kitchen spaces, meaning Samantha can keep a balanced diet and great on the go. For ease of use, we've also helped out Samantha by keeping in mind autonomy, a sought after customer need. This was first considered critical to our team after learning that 59.3% of respondents would pay to automate this task. Thus, the Greater Slicer will have the ability to push food into the cutting mechanism, measure processed weight, and stop automatically after all of the food is processed. Leading on from this, if our device was hard to use, would you buy it? Probably not. So we've really honed in on user friendliness as a customer need. Our device must be intuitive, self-explanatory, easy to clean, and quick and easy to set up. Another great feature Samantha should be stoked about is how durable the grater slicer is. Most important quality of an electric kitchen appliance, according to 42.8% of respondents, is how durable the grater slicer can be, i.e. waterproofing and shock resistance. In order for us to maximize the amount of time Samantha has to train for her marathon, the grater slicer must be efficient. Our customers' time and energy is prioritized, and thus the grater slicer will require, funnily enough, little energy to operate and no time to use.
Now, how do we address the customer needs for users like Samantha? We have divided our main functional requirements into 5 main branches to satisfy the customer needs, that is, to cut food automatically, satisfying autonomy, to adjust cutting operation settings, accomplishing versatility, to ensure the safety of our users, to maintain the device's structural integrity and durability, and most important of all, to optimize users' experience, focusing on user friendliness and efficiency. From these branches, we further subdivided into more specific attributes on what we want our design to accomplish. Now, we know there are infinite possible designs we can do from these requirements, so for us to be grounded, the project has 3 main constraints. Number 1, it should be cost effective. Number 2, it should follow standard safety regulations. And number 3, it should be tangible.
Instead of reinventing the wheel, why not look at solutions that have already been perfected? Nature has had millions of years to develop solutions to problems that are similar to the ones that we are trying to solve. We had to ensure that the structure of our product was reliable and strong, such to withstand the harsh working conditions of the kitchen. Once we rephrased this problem into a question that nature can understand, how does nature reinforce its structures? The answer became apparent. Bees use strong geometric shapes like hexagons, and we can do a similar thing using hexagonal infill to reinforce our structure. Another requirement we had to meet was to limit the user's exposure to dangerous cutting mechanisms. Once we asked the question, how does nature allow organisms to hide weapons when not using them? The answer was quite apparent. Lions and other cat species keep their claws retracted and expose them by contracting a tendon at the base of their paw only when it is necessary to use them. In a similar way, we could spring load our cutting mechanism, only exposing the blades while the product is in use.
Now that all the functional requirements and biological designs are being considered, it's time to start thinking of solutions. To come up with our designs, all conceivable solutions for every functional requirement were put in the morphological matrix. From this morphological matrix, different combinations of solutions were selected and used to devise our final designs. Our first design features a cylindrical frame with internal blades inside. An extended platform comes out the side, which food is placed on and pushed by a spring-loaded pusher into the blades. Features of this design include an extended housing to protect hands, scales under the catchment to provide an extra stopping condition, battery powered to promote portability, and Bluetooth to phone to make use of technology already so prevalent in our target demographic. The main idea behind this design was minimalism. We wanted to increase portability and reduce the amount of controllers on the device to make it ideal for such a tech-savvy demographic, always on the move and always within arm's reach of their phone. Inspired by the architecture of beehives, our next design uses a hexagonal frame. Just like the last design, we have an extended platform out the side, which food is placed on and pushed by a pusher into the blades. Unlike the pusher on the last design, this one uses a rack and pinion system, which will be faster and have more consistent speeds. Features of this design include a retractable guard to protect hands when the blade is not in use, a catchment with a scale in order to weigh the food once it has come out of the end product, onboard controls for speed and stopping conditions, mains power so you don't have to worry about batteries, and a speaker and digital display to provide feedback for the user. This design is based on the concept of being simple and easy to use, better for a more general audience who don't want to worry about connecting to phones or charging the system.
Thanks, Adam. So now we're just going to touch on the novelty and feasibility of our design. The grater slicer pushes innovation in the cooking space by encompassing technologies which are aimed to increase efficiency for users such as Samantha. Examples of this include the variable stopping criteria, which allows the user to select between 2 stopping conditions, one based upon a user-defined weight of food to be processed, and the second which stops automatically when all the food is processed. This allows the user to leave the device unattended, knowing it will fulfill the task to their specifications. The addition of inbuilt scales is a handy feature which not only enables the previous stopping conditions, but also minimizes the need for several kitchen appliances. This is something that we identified in our market research, which consumers wanted. Unlike competitors' products, which are focused around a manual intake feed for the food, our product hosts an autonomous feed system, which applies the required pressure to keep the food in contact with the cutting mechanism. And what sort of cutting edge technology would we have without Bluetooth connectivity? The Greater Slicer will feature wireless technology, enabling remote operation from Bluetooth connected devices. This functionality ties in with the idea of smart home appliances and the Internet of Things concept, with future potential for connectivity between the Greater Slicer and other kitchen appliances. In regards to feasibility, as Jordan mentioned, our market research found that 70% of respondents found slicing and chopping the most repetitive task in the kitchen, with the majority saying they'd actually pay to automate the task. So in terms of market feasibility, there is clearly a market for products such as the Greater Slicer. In regards to feasibility of producing the Greater Slicer, fortunately, many of the components found in the product are relatively common, i.e. the motors, gears, and electrical circuitry. Thus, sourcing core components should not be a logistic or financial struggle. However, investment will need to be pledged into electrical, mechanical, and the aesthetic design of the final product before full-scale manufacturing can commence. We'll now quickly touch on project planning and scheduling. Initially, the scope of our project was focused around clutter in the kitchen. However, we struggled to connect customer voices to functional requirements, which led to further market research and an eventual total shift in project direction, which is now focused around increasing efficiency in the kitchen. Outlined in the Mark II stage of our chart here, our group went into overdrive to conduct more market research, solicit customer voices, and catching up on all of this in a few days. Looking forward, we aim to further refine our concept generation and progress into developing prototypes in CAD sketches, with long-term goals to develop a refined and optimal product. I'll now pass on to Gia, who's going to finish up our presentation.
Thanks, Nathaniel. The father of Western medicine, Hippocrates, once said, "Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food." Healthy eating does not only improve physical health, its positive effects resonate to mental health as well. Now that our health enthusiast Samantha has the Greater Slicer, she would need so much less time to prepare the food that she needs and have more time to become the active young professional that she aims to be. Not only would she be able to improve her eating habits and be more switched on at work, she could also slice costs in eating fast food and reallocate her expenditures. Thank you.